Hi guys, welcome back. If you're new here, hello, I'm Angela. If you're old here, hello, I love you. I hope y'all are doing well. As the title suggests, as it says, I wanted to talk to y'all about something that I know a lot of us struggle with, including myself, and that is thinking in the past, worrying about the past, living in the past, all that, however you want to word it, all the same general reference. I want to talk about why it's detrimental and why you shouldn't do it and how, because obviously I can tell you why you shouldn't, and most of you know why you shouldn't, but if you don't know how not to, then we can't really get anywhere, right? So thinking in the past is bad for you, and everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. Everybody says that. It's like a broken record. Don't live in the past. Don't just live in the present. And that's great, but why? Why is it bad? It's bad for a lot of reasons. The reason that it's bad that most stands out to me is that there's no growth. There's no change, right? If you're living in the past, if you're constantly thinking about the past and how you were in the past, then there's no room for you to live now and grow in your future because you're constantly stuck back there, right? And so if there's no growth, then you never become a better person. You never become a different person. You never change. You never grow with people. You're always constantly mentally in the past. And that's not good, whether you're doing it because you hated something in your past or because you loved something in your past. I think oftentimes even I forget that sometimes people are living in the past because of something good. Normally when I think of living in the past, especially like in my instances that I can think of, it's always because you remember something either embarrassing that you did or something that you did you didn't like that you regret. And so then you constantly overthink those things to the point where you're trying not to recreate them, but just by living in them in the past doesn't change anything. But there are also plenty of people who live in the past because they wish their life now was like that. And both are bad. Both are bad for their own reasons. The second reason, and this is the only other reason I could think of, that's, I guess, more prominent with why living in the past is so bad, is that you can never really strive for the goals that you want to achieve in your life. This kind of ties in with the first one. So you can't really grow, right? You can't really move forward if you're thinking in the past. But if you're also thinking in the past, then you can't even set goals to begin with to help you grow forward because you're constantly thinking about goals that you set back then or maybe things you were back then or whatever it was. And so your goals, you're neglecting yourself, really is what it is. You're neglecting yourself and you're neglecting your future. And so all these goals that you have for yourself or these ideas or these aspirations, you can't ever achieve them if you're just constantly thinking about how you were 5 years ago or how you were even a month ago. None of that works that way. None of it's good or beneficial in any way. So sure, we know it's bad for you. That doesn't take much convincing, but how is it that I'm supposed to stop from doing that if it's constant, if I don't even control it? Because I know a lot of people, they it's not that they're actively trying to think in the past, it's that their mind's cluttered with things from the past and they can't necessarily just turn their mind off, right? But I thought of some things this morning while I was just kind of relaxing and laying in bed that I think can help, especially because even I will like sometimes start thinking about things I used to do and I'm like, okay, wait, we actually don't need any of this. None of this is beneficial. So I thought of a couple things that we can do actively that'll help us and stop us from thinking in the past. Instead of creating this as a list, I think it's better to do sequentially. And so step number one is to identify that you are doing this. In fact, that you are thinking in the past. So sometimes I will lay here if I'm just by myself, and I will just start thinking of random things, whether things that I want to do in my future or things that I want to do whenever, or things that I'm trying to do today, whatever it may be. And there is a thought that triggers maybe a previous thought from my past. And so then I'll think, oh, that's awkward. Really hate that I did that. But then it spirals. So then I'm like, God, I should have done this, or God, I should have told her this or told them that. And then it's just like a constant spiral until you're thinking about other things you did in the past. So all that. So the way we prevent that, I think, is once you have the trigger, right? Once you have the thought that comes into your head that makes you think of a past thought. Once that happens, acknowledge it, right? So like, let's say I'm thinking about what I'm going to have for dinner tonight, right? Random, but let's say I'm having that. And then I think of a meal that I want to make that I used to always make. But then I think, oh, but then this happened whenever I made that meal. Very unrealistic, I think, but just go with me. And so then I think of that, and then I'm like, oh, then this happened on that night. Oh God, that was the same night that this happened. Right. So before we get to any of that, acknowledge, okay, I just had a thought about the past. Sure, I wish it didn't happen. I can't control that. It happened. I can't really change anything about that. Last time I tried, we can't travel back in time. And so I'm just going to leave that there and replace it with another thought. Oh, okay, well, whatever that was about, I think I should have this instead. I think that would be really good for me. And then maybe I can have this tomorrow. Then you start getting on a spiral of other things that won't hurt you or harm you or bring you back to a time when you don't need to be brought back to, because you can't change it. Nothing's going to happen that's good from that. I think that's really it. I mean, in terms of that, I think the only step 2 that there could be in this sequence is just training your mind to do that on a consistent basis. So anytime that you start to have these bad thoughts or have these thoughts of your past, you then start to, okay, remember, I don't want to spiral into more overthinking thoughts of the past, so I replace them. And each time you try to be mindful, I think that's like what this all kind of comes down to, is being mindful and remembering, okay, I can't control what I can't control. What I can control is how I live my life now. And so I think a lot of the times when we are thinking of the past, we spiral and go down that step and go down that path because we're thinking, oh, like, what if I do that again? Or what if I'm still like that? Or what if I can't change? Or all this other BS, right? So you have to train yourself to be mindful, to think, and to realize I'm a new person now. I'm not the same as I was 5 years ago. I'm not even the same as I was a year ago. And so I'm not going to make the same choices that I made back then. And so I can't control the choices that I made back then, but I can control the choices that I make now. And so when you're mindful like that, I think that makes things a lot easier, because then you realize that, oh, I don't have to live in the past because I'm not that same person. I am who I am now. And so I can live in who I am now, think about who I am now. And then you don't have to spiral, and you don't have to do any of that BS that no one wants to do because everybody hates. Really, I feel like it's that simple. Obviously, there are going to be times where you just can't control it. And it's fine. It's going to happen. Don't beat yourself up over it. But just remember that sequence of cutting it off and then replacing it and then just leaving it there and trying your best not to give any power to those thoughts. If you ever want to talk about something, I say this every video, but it's true, because I love talking to y'all about literally everything. Either comment down below or DM me on Instagram. My socials are always in the description. I would always be down if you ever want advice, or if you ever just want me to listen, that is great too. I hope that this helped. I hope that y'all have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week until I see y'all again. I love y'all. And remember, no past thoughts. We're living in the present and the freaking future. That's it. Anyways, y'all have a great day, and I will see y'all again next week.